Long ago, when the world was just beginning to take shape, three brothers, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, divided power over the universe among themselves. Poseidon became the lord of the seas, Hades received the realm of the dead, and Zeus the sky. And from that time on, he became the father of gods and men, the all-seeing and omnipotent ruler of thunder and light. Zeus dwells high above the earth in a golden palace on the summit of Olympus. There, where eternal summer reigns, where no clouds obscure the sun and no winds disturb the silence. On his golden throne, surrounded by radiance, he sits, scepter in hand, eagle at his feet, and lightning bolts, sparkling like heavenly fire, ready to unleash at his will. By Zeus's throne stands winged Nike, the goddess of victory. And not far off, like shadows of time, the eternally young Herae, daughters of Zeus and Themis, guard the gates of Olympus. These goddesses of the seasons lead a round dance of changes, ensuring that winter yields to spring and summer to autumn. The Charites, the Graces, born of Zeus and the Oceanid Eurynome, fill the world with the light of goodness and beauty. Their dance is like the breath of flowers, their laughter like the murmur of a brook. They bestow joy upon gods and mortals, like an invisible music from which the soul blossoms. On Olympus, the gods hold lavish feasts. There, to the sounds of lyres and flutes, they partake of nectar and ambrosia, the food of the immortals, which bestows eternal youth. Ambrosia is served by the young Hebe, daughter of Zeus, goddess of youth, whose touch is like the morning wind, and she is aided by Ganymede, a beautiful youth, son of the Trojan king. One day Zeus saw him, and moved by his beauty, took the form of an eagle and carried Ganymede to Olympus. Since then, he became the cupbearer of the gods. Ganymede's father wept bitterly, not knowing where his son had disappeared. And then Zeus, softening, spoke to him with consolation. "Look up at the sky. There, among the stars, you will see the image of your son in the constellation Aquarius. He will shine eternally over the earth, and every evening you will be able to see him again." Zeus, not only the lord of thunder and laws, but also the protector of wanderers. Hospitality is one of his favorite virtues. It is told how one day Zeus and his son, Hermes, descended from Olympus in the guise of wanderers. They wandered long through villages, knocking on hundreds of doors, but everywhere they were refused. No one wanted to shelter the poor travelers. No one, except two old people, Philemon and Baucis, who lived in a humble hut with a thatched roof. They welcomed the guests with joy and shared their last piece of bread. And a miracle happened. The more the guests ate, the fuller the table became. Zeus revealed his true nature to the old people and said, "For your kindness, I will grant any wish you desire." And the old people simply replied, "May we be destined to die on the same day. We do not wish to live one without the other." Zeus punished all the ungodly inhabitants of the village for not sheltering the gods. He flooded all their houses and transformed the hut of the good old people into a temple. They lived there a long life, and when their hour came, they transformed into two trees growing from a single root. But not all gods live on Olympus. Hades, the ruler of the underworld, rarely leaves his gloomy abodes. Poseidon, the impetuous lord of the seas, only occasionally visits his brother. And Hestia, Zeus's kind sister, goddess of the hearth, decided that it was closer to her to be among people by their hearths and enchanted stories, and yielded her place among the 12 gods to Zeus's son Dionysus. And somewhere far from Olympus, among forests, rivers, and mountains, live the nymphs. Beautiful and mysterious, they guard the waters and groves, the flowers and hills. The Nereids, daughters of the old sea god Nereus, dance in the sea foam. The Oreads inhabit the mountains, the Dryads in the trees, and the Hamadryads are linked to every leaf and root. They know the secrets of life, whisper dreams, and sometimes, if they wish, reveal the future to humans. Such is Zeus, the ruler of the sky, fearsome and wise, just and merciful. His name echoes in the thunder, his breath is the wind, and his will in every law of the world. On the golden throne next to Zeus sits Hera, the great goddess, queen of Olympus. Her voice is like the rumble of distant thunder, and her gaze like the serenity of eternity. She, daughter of the ancient Titans, Cronus and Rhea, and only a miracle saved her from eternal darkness. For Cronus, fearing the prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him, swallowed them one after another. But Zeus, the youngest of the sons, vanquished Cronus and freed his brothers and sisters from the prison of their father's womb. Thus Hera returned to the world. For a long time she lived far from Olympus, in tall groves, in the shade of myrtles and plane trees, where flowers bloom at the rustle of the wind. There Zeus saw her, and his heart trembled. He loved Hera, but the proud goddess did not reciprocate for a long time. Then Zeus resorted to cunning. He caused a storm, transformed into a cuckoo, shivering with cold, and landed at Hera's feet. The goddess, moved by compassion, pressed the bird to herself, and at that moment Zeus revealed his true form. He carried Hera to Olympus, where the greatest wedding the sky had ever known took place. All the gods brought gifts to Hera. Flowers bloomed more vividly, the wind quieted, and even the stars seemed to dance in the night. From this divine union were born the mighty god of war Ares, the skillful smith Hephaestus, and the beautiful goddess of youth Hebe. Hera, protector of marriage, defender of conjugal union, she gives offspring to humans and protects legitimate love. She is revered on Olympus and on earth. Even Zeus himself, despite his greatness, often consults her. But the great goddess also knows pain. For Zeus, eternally amorous, is often attracted to mortal women and other goddesses. Hera cannot openly oppose Zeus. That is why her wrath falls upon those who dare to become her rivals. She does not forgive. Her vengeance, silent but inescapable, like the evening mist in which the day fades. One day, Zeus fell in love with Io, the beautiful daughter of the river god Inachus. To save his beloved from his wife's wrath, he transformed Io into a snow-white cow. But Hera foiled the deception. She asked for the cow as a gift, and Zeus did not dare to refuse. Hera set a guardian over Io, Argus, a giant with 100 eyes. Neither day nor night did Argus sleep. When a part of his eyes rested, the others watched. Io was under unceasing guard. Then Zeus sent Hermes, agile and cunning as the morning itself. Hermes appeared before Argus, spoke to him, played the flute, and one by one the guardian's eyes began to close. As soon as the last eye fell asleep, Hermes struck Argus with his sword. Hera, learning of this, flew into a black rage. She collected the eyes of her fallen servant and adorned the tail of a peacock with them. Since then, it has borne that starry pattern. But her vengeance did not end there. She sent a terrible gadfly upon Io, and the unfortunate cow wandered throughout the world, fleeing unbearable torment. Only upon reaching the shores of Egypt did she find rest. Hera turned her wrath to mercy, and Zeus restored Io to her true form. Such is Hera, just, proud, and relentless. She embodies greatness and order, the peace of the home and the strength of conjugal fidelity. And although on Olympus her heart is sometimes clouded by jealousy, in her silent gaze lies the wisdom of the stars and a secret tenderness. In the depths of the Aegean Sea, beneath the shade of swaying seaweed and shimmering shells, stands a golden palace. There, in the silence of the underwater realm, lives Poseidon, brother of Zeus, lord of the seas, master of storms and tempests. He was called Earth Shaker, for he need only strike a rock with his trident for the earth to tremble, causing earthquakes, and for springs to gush forth from fissures. The ruler of the seas, the eldest of the three brothers, but he does not rule the sky. And this gives him no rest. He rarely visits Olympus, preferring the boundless waters where his power is absolute. The sea is his breath, the waves his wrath, the calm his indulgence. For a long time Poseidon sought a wife, but each rejected the lord of the depths, fearing his impetuous temperament. Only one goddess touched Poseidon's heart, the beautiful Amphitrite, daughter of the old sea god Nereus. But she fled from him, hiding in a distant cave. Poseidon did not pursue her himself. Instead, he sought the help of a dolphin. It found Amphitrite and, with sweet and affectionate words, persuaded her to marry the ruler of the seas. In reward for this service, Poseidon elevated the dolphin to the sky, where it shines among the stars, the constellation Delphinus. Since then, Amphitrite has ruled the seas alongside her husband. Faster than the wind, her chariot speeds over the waves, and all around, the graceful Nereids, her sisters, daughters of Nereus. These water nymphs dance in the foam of the surf and sing songs understood only by fishermen and the wind. The old Nereus, father of the Nereids, was wise and just. He never lied and helped those who sought the truth. It is said that he could change his form, becoming a beast, water, or fire, so as not to be caught. Only the bravest could hold him, and then Nereus would reveal the future. But Poseidon himself is not immune to love. He was drawn to goddesses and mortal women alike. His sons are strange, dangerous, sometimes monstrous creatures, from the mighty Cyclops Polyphemus to the half-human, half-bull Minotaur, from the mad Siren to the invincible giant Antaeus. All bear the imprint of marine grandeur and wildness. One of his sons, Glaucus, was once a simple fisherman, but one day he ate a magical herb and instantly became a sea deity. His legs transformed into a fish tail, his hair became covered with seaweed, and his eyes turned green like the depths of the sea. He fell in love with the nymph Scylla, but was rejected. Then he sought help from the sorceress Circe. But Circe herself fell in love with Glaucus and, in her anger, transformed Scylla into a monster with dog heads and a 12-legged body. Since then, Scylla has inhabited a rock and devoured passing sailors. Another son of Poseidon is Triton. He lives in a golden palace at the bottom of the sea. Half fish and half human, he can summon a storm simply by blowing his conch shell. Let this shell merely tremble, and waves rise like a wall, the sky darkens, and ships are thrown off course. In the seas also dwells Proteus, an ancient sea god. He knows the future but will never tell it simply. Catch him, and he will become a lion, fire, water, a beast, or a tree. But if you hold him, he will tell you the truth. Only chosen heroes manage to learn his secrets. Such is the marine kingdom, deep, restless, full of wonders and dangers. Poseidon rules it like an ancient king, brooks no refusal. His power extends from the shores of dawn to the darkness of abyssal depths. He can be stern, he can be generous, but never predictable. And when you hear the storm outside or the waves breaking on the shore, remember, it is Poseidon walking on the sea, touching its back with his trident. Where the sun does not shine, beneath the thick earth, lies a realm filled with silence and the cold breath of oblivion. Here reigns the third of the great brothers, Hades, the ruler of the dead, the lord of the underworld, whose name is at once the name of the place where the soul goes after death. Hades never appears in the golden palaces of Olympus. He does not partake in feasts, does not laugh with the other gods, and does not interfere in the fates of those living on the surface. His entire being is immersed in eternity, motionless and stern. On the golden throne, in the heart of the underground palace, he sits beside his queen, Persephone. Once, she was the young and joyous daughter of the goddess Demeter, playing in meadows and gathering flowers. But one day, the earth opened, and from the darkness appeared Hades. He seized Persephone and carried her off to his domain. Since then, half the year she reigns in the underworld, and the other half she returns to her mother, and with her the earth revives. The path to the realm of the dead is difficult and full of dangers. Several sacred rivers block it. 9 times the river Styx, black, unfathomable, icy, encircles Hades' domains. Its waters are sacred, even the gods swear by it, and if they violate their oath, they drink its water and lose their power for 9 years. Into the Styx flows the Cocytus, the river of tears, whose waters resound like sobs of pain, and the river Lethe carries oblivion. Drinking from it, the soul loses all its memories. The river Pyriphlegethon surrounds the realm with a fiery ring, and the Acheron, a gloomy torrent across which souls must be transported. At the bank of the Acheron, Charon, the old ferryman, awaits them. His eyes are dull, his hands bony, and his voice like the rattle of the autumn wind. He takes his due, a coin placed under the tongue of the dead. Those who have none are doomed to wander eternally on the bank, finding no rest. After the crossing, souls await judgment. 3 judges, Minos, Aeacus, and Rhadamanthus, weigh the deeds done in life. Some souls go to the dismal fields of Asphodel, where there is neither joy, nor fear, nor pain. Others find rest in Elysium, in the land of eternal summer, where there is no suffering, only light and music. But not all find peace. At night, when the stars hide, creatures from the depths of Hades escape to earth. Horrible Empusa, devourer of flesh, the terrible Lamia, stealer of children, the shadowy Keres, who swoop down on the dying on the battlefield to drink their blood. All these creatures are commanded by the goddess of shadows and witchcraft, Hecate. 3-headed, 6-armed, with torches in hand, she wanders through roads and cemeteries, sending dreams full of fear and revelations. The enormous dog Cerberus guards the exit from the realm of the dead. He has 3 heads, and venomous snakes writhe on his back. His barking kills the last hope of those who dream of returning. No one passes him alive. And yet, there have been cases when the living descended into the underworld and returned. One of them was Orpheus, the great singer whose music made even stones weep. He descended into Hades to bring back his beloved, and the gloom of the underworld trembled at the sound of his lyre. But that is another story. Even in the world of the dead, memory lingers. The memory of those who performed great deeds, and of those who were punished. King Tantalus, for his audacity before the gods, stands in water up to his chest, but cannot drink. The water eludes his lips. Above him, branches laden with fruit, but he is unable to reach them. This is why we speak of tantalizing torments. King Sisyphus eternally rolls a heavy stone uphill, and each time it rolls back down, thus is meaningless labor punished. Thus was born the expression Sisyphean task. And those who drank from Lethe fell into it, and they will remember nothing more forever. In the underworld, there is no time. There is only eternity. And Hades, the silent ruler, preserves this peace, not interfering in the world of the living. He only watches, like the flame of a candle, looking from the depths into the darkness. Among the wheat, the ears, and the green meadows reigns the goddess of fertility, the great Demeter. Her step brings life. Her breath warms the earth. Her gentle gaze is spring, filling the world. People composed hymns to her, thanked her for the harvest, for bread, and for hope. She herself taught humanity to cultivate the earth, to sow, to plough, and to gather the fruits. It was Demeter who gave Triptolemus, son of King Celeus, an enchanted plough and a chariot drawn by winged serpents. On this chariot he travelled the world, bringing men the knowledge of agriculture. But there is in Demeter's heart an incomparable love, the love for her daughter, the young Persephone. The joy of life flowed from this love. Flowers blossomed at her laughter, ripening fruits stretched towards her. Birds sang songs when Persephone strolled through the meadows. One day she was gathering flowers under the light of the spring day, and suddenly the earth trembled. From the depths of darkness a black chariot flew forth. Inside Hades, he seized Persephone and carried her off to his underworld kingdom. Everything happened in an instant, and everything changed. Demeter, not knowing where her child was, put on mourning. She cast off her crown of ears of corn, wrapped herself in a dark veil, and began to wander the world. She knocked on doors, asking everyone, "Have you not seen my daughter?" But no one could answer. The earth froze with her, the meadows withered, the trees shed their leaves, the wheat did not grow. A long, cold silence fell. Famine began to claim lives, and even the gods grew worried. Then Zeus ordered Hades to return Persephone. Hades, hearing the will of Olympus, did not object, but he had his own plan. "If you leave," he told Persephone, "take with you a modest gift, a few pomegranate seeds. You have never tasted anything so delicious." Persephone, unaware of the magic of these fruits, ate them, and in them charms that bound her forever to the underworld. That was what Hades wanted, such was his design. When Persephone found herself back on the surface, in her mother's arms, the earth breathed again. Flowers bloomed, the air filled with the sense of life. Demeter, laughing through her tears, touched the fields, and they covered themselves in emerald green. But the joy was not complete. Persephone felt that her soul was divided. The pomegranate held her heart in the shadows. Then Zeus decreed, half the year Persephone would live with her mother on earth, and the other half she would reign in Hades beside her husband. Thus came the rhythm of the seasons to earth. In spring and summer, Demeter rejoices, restoring life to all that grows and blossoms. In autumn and winter, she is sad, and nature saddens with her, falling asleep, quieting, becoming still. Thus from love was born the first explanation for the change of seasons, and since then, every ear of wheat, every flower, and every fruit carries within it the memory of this story, of a mother and daughter separated and reunited, of how life and death, spring and winter, light and darkness intertwine in an eternal dance upon the face of the earth. The wind softly whispers over the summit of Olympus, and among the clouds she appears, Athena, goddess of wisdom and just war, patroness of crafts, knowledge, and cities. Her origin is a miracle unlike any other. It was once foretold that a son born of the goddess Metis would destroy Zeus. So, fearing fate, Zeus swallowed Metis, his wife and goddess of reason. He thought he had gotten rid of the danger, but one day he got such an intense headache that his cries echoed throughout the earth. He called Hephaestus, the mighty smith who split the aching head of the Lord of the gods. From Zeus's cleft forehead, in a flash of lightning and a clang of arms, appeared Athena, adult, in full battle armor, with her spear, shield, and wise gaze. Since then, Athena is not just the daughter of Zeus. She is his thought, his will, his reason made living. Her name is whispered by philosophers, her image inspires artisans, her glory lives in every city where law, peace, and science are honored. But Athena is not only wise, she is a formidable protector. On the battlefield, she leads those who fight not for vengeance, not for destruction, but in the name of truth and freedom. Unlike Ares, cruel and furious, Athena holds in her hand a shield woven from goatskin, the Aegis. On this shield, the head of Medusa, whose face turns enemies to stone. Athena is particularly revered in Attica, where a great city, Athens, was named in her honor. It is told how Athena and Poseidon argued over the right to be the protectors of this land. Poseidon struck with his trident, and a spring gushed from the rock, but the water was salty. Athena, however, thrust her spear into the earth, and an olive tree grew, bringing food, light, and wood. All recognized her gift was more valuable. Thus the olive became a sacred tree, and the city the dwelling of her spirit, Athena, herself an artisan. She weaves and spins, and everything that comes from her hands bears harmony. One day, a mortal weaver, Arachne, challenged her, proudly declaring that she wove better than the goddess herself. Athena, hiding in the guise of an old woman, tried to warn her, but she only laughed. Then the goddess revealed her true nature and accepted the challenge. Athena wove on her loom the glory of Olympus, and Arachne scenes where the gods make mistakes, deceive, and sin. The truth was beautiful, but the audacity unforgivable. In her anger, Athena tore Arachne's weaving, and, lest she perish from shame, transformed her into a spider. Since then, Arachne eternally weaves her web, thread by thread, without rest. Athena, not just a goddess, she is the breath of reason. Wherever the sword is drawn in the name of protection, wherever hands create, wherever words build, there is her invisible presence. Her voice is the voice of conscience, and her footsteps the silence amidst chaos. And in the night, when the sounds of the world quiet down and thoughts are born in the mind, like stars, perhaps it is Athena bending near, whispering, "Listen, think, create." Where the wave laps and white foam caresses the shore, Aphrodite was born, goddess of love and beauty. She emerged from the deep sea like a pearl, luminous and shimmering in the embrace of the morning light. Since then, wherever she steps, flowers bloom. Wherever her voice resounds, quarrels cease, and love awakens. She is called Anadyomene and Cytherea, for not far from the island of Cythera she first appeared to the world. No goddess, no mortal could rival her in beauty. Even wild beasts, upon seeing Aphrodite, became gentle and tame. On her girdle, a magical pattern. One need only wear it, and no one can resist the enchanting radiance of its wearer. Neither gods nor men. Only 3 goddesses escaped her power: Athena, Artemis, and Hestia. The others were subject to her magic. Many gods dreamed of becoming her husband, but Hephaestus, the lame smith god, an unrivaled master, became Aphrodite's husband. So fate decided. But the heart of the goddess of love was changeable. She gave her soul to another, Ares, the god of war. From their union were born the twins, Deimos and Phobos, fear and terror, who accompany Ares on the battlefield. As well as Harmonia, the embodiment of beautiful balance, and mischievous Eros, god of desire, eternally young, with golden wings and a quiver of invisible arrows. Eros's arrows never miss their mark. They penetrate deep into the heart, giving birth to love or suffering, and even Zeus cannot resist them. Aphrodite brings happiness to those who honor her. King Pygmalion, who lived on the island of Cyprus, once carved a statue of a beautiful young woman from ivory. He fell in love with his own artistic creation, gave it a name, Galatea, and day after day he covered the statue with flowers and kisses. On the day of Aphrodite's festival, he silently asked, "Give me a wife similar to my creation." And the goddess heard. When he returned home, the statue came to life. Thus, Pygmalion and Galatea became husband and wife, and never forgot to thank the goddess of love for her gift. But Aphrodite does not tolerate contempt. One day the queen of Cyprus boasted that her daughter Myrrha was more beautiful than the goddess herself. Aphrodite was offended. She sent misfortune. Myrrha, frightened, fled from her father and, to save the young girl, Aphrodite transformed her into a tree, the myrrh. From the split trunk appeared a baby, Adonis, so beautiful that the goddess of love could not remain indifferent. She entrusted him to Persephone to raise, but the queen of the underworld also loved Adonis and did not want to part with him. A struggle began. Aphrodite brought the youth back with the help of charms. They were inseparable until one day, while hunting, a wild boar mortally wounded Adonis. It is said that it was Ares himself, jealous, deceived. Aphrodite wept over the body of her beloved, and from her tears grew anemones, and from the youth's blood, roses. Zeus settled the dispute. In spring and summer, Adonis returns to Aphrodite, and in autumn and winter, he goes to Persephone. This is how the mood of nature changes to the rhythm of love and loss. She, Aphrodite. Her touch, a warm wind, her breath, the scent of flowers, her shadow, in every glance full of tenderness. And as long as the word love resonates on earth, she also lives, foam-born, eternal. Where weapons clang, where the earth trembles beneath the feet of warriors, where the scent of blood and iron hangs in the air, there Ares feels at home, god of battles, destruction, and wrath. He is called the destroyer of men, the ravager of cities, and even among the immortals, he is solitary. Born of Zeus and Hera, he inherited neither wisdom nor love from them. The groans of the wounded, the clanging of shields, the flames of fires delight him. He cares little who is right or wrong. Ares helps whoever awakens fury and the passion for battle in him. It is said that he is like this because he comes from Thrace, a land of wild, untamed tribes where war is not a means but a meaning in life. There, Ares absorbed the taste of mercilessness. Even other gods shun him. Even Zeus, his father, barely tolerates him on Olympus. Near Ares there are always two shadows, Eris, goddess of discord, and Enyo, the personified and mad battle. 4 horses are harnessed to his chariot: gleam, flame, noise, and terror. Behind him flies a vulture and runs a pack of dogs whose eyes reflect the madness of battle. But Ares also has children. His sons Deimos and Phobos, fear and terror, accompany him in battle, spreading panic among the troops. And, strangely enough, he was the lover of Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Together they spawned contradictory offspring, from fear to harmony. And yet, despite his strength, Ares does not always win. Against him stands Athena, goddess of wise war. In every battle, she triumphs over her brother because she acts with reason, not with fury. Even mortal heroes have been able to defeat Ares. One day, 2 giants, the brothers Otus and Iphialtes, captured him, bound him, and imprisoned him in a bronze jar. Battles ceased on Earth, and the world experienced silence for the first time. 13 months, Ares languished in captivity until Hermes found and freed him. And since then, the horns of war sounded again, and smoke again billowed over the fields. Unlike other gods, Ares does not distinguish for whom to fight. He sides with whoever calls him first. He inspires, but does not reason. He destroys, but does not create. He comes like a storm and disappears like smoke. And when in the distance a rumbling is heard, like a rushing herd, and anxiety grows in the heart, perhaps it is Ares who has again set foot on earth, bringing with him the clang of swords and the smell of blood. In the depths of the mountains, where underground fire rages and molten metal flows, lives Hephaestus, god of smithing, fire, and craftsmanship. He does not shine like Apollo, he does not gleam like Ares, but it is his hands that create gifts that surpass all that has been born in the world. He is the son of Zeus and Hera, but from birth he was marked by ugliness. Legend has it that Hera, seeing her newborn son lame, threw him from Olympus. 7 days and 7 nights Hephaestus fell, until he landed in the ocean, where he was picked up by the sea nymphs Thetis and Eurynome. They raised him, hiding him from the world, until he grew up, silent, with hands strong as time itself. Hephaestus built himself a forge beneath the mountain, where fire burned day and night, and hammers rang under the blows of unseen hands. From metal he forged wonders, necklaces that sang, rings that foretold destiny, armor that knew no destruction. He created the shield of Achilles, an entire world woven from gold and steel. He created chariots, swords, musical instruments, lyres, and thrones on which it was impossible to lie. When Hera learned of the wonders her exiled son was creating, she repented. Then Hephaestus sent her an elegant throne as a gift. But as soon as she sat on it, he shackled her, binding her to the seat with invisible chains. The gods begged Hephaestus to free her, but he refused, and only Dionysus, the joyous god of wine, found a way to persuade the artisan. He intoxicated Hephaestus with wine, made him merry, and he, limping but triumphant, ascended Olympus and freed his mother. Since then, he has taken his place among the immortals. Zeus gave him Aphrodite, the most beautiful of goddesses, as his wife. But their union was cold. Aphrodite belonged not to fire, but to feeling. And Hephaestus to the creator, not the lover. And yet he continued to create, giving birth to forms in which pulsed a force that needed no approval. He built houses for the gods, self-moving thrones and statues that could walk. He forged the chains for Prometheus, created Zeus's scepter and Helios's chariot. He was also the creator of Pandora, the first woman whose beauty was perfection and whose fate a trial. Hephaestus knows no fury, like Ares seeks no glory, like Apollo. He is silence, rumble, spark, and design. He is what remains when hammers clang and heat fades, a finished creation, radiant with eternity. Sometimes he can be seen in the flame of the forge, in the breath of the volcano, in the reflection on a blade. He does not speak, he acts. He does not dream, he creates. His wisdom is in the metal, his feelings in the fire, his soul in the silence where form is born. And when you see something created by human hands, beautiful and solid as the earth itself, perhaps an echo of Hephaestus, son of fire and patience, resonates within it. When the silver crescent moon rises in the sky and the murmur of the forest stills, the treetops bow in reverence. For she passes Artemis, the virgin goddess, protector of the hunt, forests, animals, and tranquil nocturnal freedom. Her step is like the wind, her gaze is like the moonlight on water. She is the daughter of Zeus and Leto, Apollo's twin sister. Barely born, Artemis immediately took care of her mother. Fearlessly, she helped Leto give birth when the latter bore her brother. Thus, from the very first moment, her determination, independence, and strength manifested in her. Artemis never aspired to the palaces of Olympus. Her home is the deep forest, full of life and mystery. She wears a short tunic, light as grass, and always carries a bow, taut as a string of silence. Her arrows as swift as thought and precise as truth. But she is not a hunter of death. She hunts for balance as part of nature without disturbing its breath. She asked Zeus for eternal virginity, freedom from marriage, and power over all mountains and forests, and he granted it to her. Since then, Artemis has been surrounded by nymphs, also virgins, light as starlight. Together they run along paths, bathe in forest lakes, and sing songs audible only to the wind and owls. But though Artemis is beautiful, her wrath is terrible. One day the hunter Actaeon accidentally saw her naked, not out of lust, but out of naivety. But Artemis does not forgive intrusion into her world. She transformed him into a stag, and his own dogs, not recognizing their master, tore him apart. This is how Artemis guards her secret, fragile and inviolable. But Artemis is not only an avenger. She is the protector of women in childbirth, though she herself is a virgin. She protects the young, the innocent, the brave. Her call is heard in the heart of everyone who seeks solitude in nature, who follows a path where no one has trod, who does not fear silence. She does not live in the past and does not yearn for the future. She is the moment, a moonlit flash through the branches, the shadow of a doe on the forest edge, the coolness of a spring in one's hands. She is like a dream from which one does not want to wake. And when you walk at night on a path and hear a twig snap, the grass rustle, perhaps it is Artemis who has passed by, elusive, stern, and infinitely pure. When the first rays of the sun touch the mountain peaks and the sky slowly transitions from blue to gold, then he awakens. Apollo, god of light, music, prophecy, healing, and clear thought. He is the son of Zeus and Leto, Artemis's brother, born on the island of Delos amidst waves and winds, when the earth trembled with the wrath of the goddess Hera, who did not wish to give Leto a place to give birth. But the sea calmed. Delos emerged from the depths like a clear promise, and there, amidst peace and light, he appeared, Apollo, shining like the morning itself. From childhood, he knew his strength. Barely grown, he took up his golden bow and slew the dragon Python, the monster guarding the sanctuary of Delphi. Thus, Apollo became the protector of Delphi, the temple where the will of the gods resounds, where the Pythia, priestess, breathing the smoke of laurel, utters prophecies, filling them with the words of fate itself. Apollo, god of harmony. Where he is, there is no chaos. His music is not just a melody, it is the breath of the universe, the harmony of the spheres, the golden thread that connects reason and feelings. With his lyre he calms hearts, restores hope, quells the storm in the soul. Orpheus, the great singer, was his pupil. By playing music, he made trees move and rivers change their course. Such is Apollo's touch. It does not burn like the sun's heat, it warms like the dawn. But he too, like all gods, knew love and the pain that comes with it. He loved Daphne, a forest nymph, free as the wind, but Daphne wished to be a prisoner of neither love nor fate. When Apollo approached, she fearfully pleaded with the gods, and they turned her into a laurel tree. Apollo's heart ached. He embraced the tree, and since then the laurel has become his sacred symbol. He wove a wreath from it which he wears to this day as a sign of remembrance that even love can be unattainable. He loved the youth hyacinth, beautiful as spring. But one day, while playing discus, they laughed under the sun, and a sudden gust of wind, or perhaps the jealousy of the god Zephyrus, diverted the missile's path. Hyacinth fell, struck down. From his blood, Apollo created a flower, the hyacinth, and inscribed sad markings on its petals, resembling the word, alas. Apollo, physician. He heals ailments, guides the hands of healers. His son Asclepius was the first to heal death, until Zeus stopped him, fearing that the order of life would be disrupted. Apollo is not just light. He is the dawn after a restless night. He is the song that restores faith. He is the truth spoken with tenderness. His temple stands in Delphi. His words, in every prophecy, his music, in every chord that brings peace. And when you hear a lyre in the silence, or when in the morning your soul becomes clearer, perhaps it is Apollo who has passed nearby. With his invisible presence, he reminds you, even amidst pain and darkness, light is born if you open your heart to it. When morning is just breaking and a light mist stretches over the roads, when merchants set out their wares and travelers don their sandals, it is at this hour that he appears, Hermes, messenger of the gods, guide of souls, protector of roads, thieves, merchants, and all who cross boundaries visible and invisible. His step is light as the wind, his voice is swift as thought, his sandals are winged, and his hat protects him from sun and rain. In his hand he holds the caduceus, a staff entwined with two serpents, a symbol of peace and balance. One look at him, and disputes quiet down. Hermes, son of Zeus and the nymph Maia, on the very first day of his life, he escaped from his swaddling clothes, stole a herd of cows from Apollo, hid his tracks, and returned to his cradle, feigning innocence. When Apollo discovered the disappearance, he flew into a black rage, but Hermes was undaunted. He took out the lyre he had just invented and played a melody so beautiful that anger gave way to admiration. Thus Hermes became the favorite of Olympus. Intelligent, mischievous, joyful, he was everywhere. He carried Zeus's messages, negotiated, helped heroes and gods. He knew all secret paths, and even those leading to the underworld, for he is one of the few who can freely enter and exit the world of the dead. He accompanied the souls of the deceased to the river Acheron and handed them over to Charon. But he does not judge and does not weep. His path is to guide without interfering. He is the boundary between life and death, and in this lies his wisdom. Hermes, protector of trade. He loves transactions, contracts, words that turn into gold. He protects those who embark on a journey, travelers, ambassadors, fugitives. He guards wanderers at crossroads and points the right way to those who seek but do not know where to go. And yet, he is not without mischief. He is the protector of thieves, not because he encourages evil, but because he appreciates agility, ingenuity, and audacity. He laughs, but not maliciously. He plays, but does not destroy. Hermes helped heroes. He gave Perseus the sword, the cap of invisibility, and the sandals to defeat Medusa. He put the giant Argus to sleep when Io needed to be freed. He averted Calypso's gaze from Odysseus when it was time for him to return home. He himself is a hero, not on the battlefield, but in the twilight of the world where reason, words, and a swift hand rule. He knows when to speak and when to be silent. He knows when to go forward and when to go around. His secret is to know how to see the path, even if it does not yet exist. And when you stand at a crossroads not knowing where to take the first step, perhaps Hermes is beside you. A light breeze, a passerby's smile, an unexpected thought. All these are his signs. He will not say it directly, but if you are attentive, you will understand, and you will continue your journey. When day declines into evening, and the first fire is lit in the house, when children gather near, and the air fills with the scent of bread and the warmth of familiar voices, it means that Hestia is here. Not showy, not warlike, not crowned with laurels of glory, but the most constant, the most silent of all the goddesses of Olympus. Goddess of the hearth, guardian of the family, protector of comfort and harmony. She is the eldest of the children of Cronus and Rhea, the first to be swallowed by her father, and the last whom Zeus tore out into the light. And thus the first and the last, the beginning and the end. When Zeus divided the domains of power among the Olympians, he offered Hestia a throne among the 12. But she refused. She did not strive for resounding glory, did not crave power. Instead, she asked for only one thing: to be in every home, in every temple where a human being lives. And Zeus granted her wish. In every Greek home, a hearth burned, and this fire was sacred. It was not extinguished, it was guarded, like the very breath of the family. And every time a new fire was lit, it was taken from Hestia's flame to preserve continuity, the connection of times and generations. In the temples of cities, her altar was round, without beginning or end, like eternity itself. Even in Olympia, amidst noisy feasts and disputes, her fire never went out. It burned softly but constantly. Hestia never left her sanctuary. She did not participate in wars, did not weave intrigues, did not fall in love, and did not deceive. She chose chastity and peace, and for this she was respected even by the most tumultuous gods. When thunder rumbled over Olympus, when Ares argued with Athena, when Aphrodite quarreled with Hera, Hestia simply kept the fire. And this fire united them all. She did not interfere, but in her presence, everything became quieter, gentler, more stable. Among men, she was called the first to receive a sacrifice. When a feast began, the first drop of wine was poured on the ground in her honor. For without her, there is no home. And without a home, there is no peace. Hestia is not a storm, not a ray, not a song. She is the breath of the flame. She is the warmth of hands. She is the smell of bread and the crackle of wood in the fireplace. Her name is rarely mentioned in epics, but every evening, when it gets dark outside and the light burns in the house, it is her light. And when you feel lonely and you seek solace, perhaps you are already near her. Just close your eyes and imagine a soft armchair, dimmed light, a cup of something warm, and the silence that embraces you. That is her, Hestia. And she will remain as long as the heart beats, as long as memory lives, as long as a home is not just walls, but a place where one can be oneself. When night falls on the vineyards and the stars begin to twinkle like drops of wine in a glass, then he arrives, Dionysus, god of wine, revelry, madness, liberation, and revelation. His path is not straight, like Zeus's, nor clear, like Apollo's. His path is the wine in the cup, a twisted spiral of dreams, and a path into the depths of oneself. He was born twice, first from Zeus and a mortal woman named Semele. But Hera, Zeus's jealous wife, deceived Semele, instilling in her the desire to see her beloved in all his divine glory. And when Zeus appeared before her in lightning and thunder, mortal flesh could not bear it. Semele was consumed, and the child remained in her womb, still unborn. Then Zeus took the infant and sewed him into his thigh, where he matured until it was time to be born again. Thus, Dionysus was twice born. As a child protected from the wrath of the gods, he grew up among the nymphs, amidst vineyards and shady groves. He is not like other gods. He is not powerful like Zeus, nor reasonable like Athena, nor just like Apollo. Dionysus is something else. He is the feeling that escapes reason. He is the feast where boundaries disappear. He is the wine that frees from fear, but can also lead to madness. His retinue consists of maenads, women who fall into ecstasy, dancing to the sounds of flutes and tympana. With him go the satyrs, half men, half goats, joyful and unrestrained. His procession is not just a celebration, it is an ancient ritual of oblivion, of dissolution into nature, into life, into dance. Dionysus taught men viticulture, but his gift is dangerous. It brings joy but demands respect. It breaks down the walls of consciousness to free the inner self. Those who rejected him lost their minds. Those who accepted him found the truth. One day, King Pentheus, deciding to expel the cult of Dionysus, chained him. But the shackles fell from the god's hands like the rustle of leaves. Dionysus emerged from his prison and enveloped the city in fury. Pentheus, possessed, went himself, disguised as a woman, to the Maenads' feast to spy. But in their ecstasy they mistook him for a beast and tore him to pieces. Among them was his own mother, Agave. Such was the lesson for those who despise madness without understanding its meaning. But Dionysus is not only a destroyer, he is a comforter. He comes to those who suffer, to those who weep alone. He whispers, "Forget. Let yourself feel. Let yourself live." And a drop of wine becomes not just a drink, but a door to the depths of the heart. The Greeks believed that wine was not just a joy, but a mystery. It was drunk not to get drunk, but to touch the divine. At the feasts of Dionysus, tragedy was born, an art that united pain and beauty, laughter and tears. And when you hold a warm glass in the silence of the evening, and the air smells of grapes, and you suddenly feel a slight sadness mixed with joy, Perhaps it is Dionysus. Not as a sound, but as a shadow. Not as a cry, but as a whisper. You live. You feel. You are free. Before Olympus, before Zeus, before thunder and light, there was another world, primal, without form, without names. It began with chaos, not as destruction, but as infinite possibility. From this abyss, like a first thought, was born Nyx, night. In her darkness all forces slept and were born. She was the mother of sleep and death, of dream and deceit, of wrath and fate. She is the breath of silence, the shadow from which everything begins. From the depths of chaos also emerged Tartarus, not a place, but a state. An abyss beneath the earth, beyond comprehension. The Greeks said if an iron anvil fell from the sky, it would reach the earth in 9 days. And to reach Tartarus, it would take 9 days of falling through darkness and oblivion. There languish the ancient Titans. There are imprisoned forces whose name is forgotten, whose might is relentless. And then Uranus, the sky, boundless, starry. He was the first king, embracing Gaia, the earth. From their union were born the Titans, the Cyclopes, and the Hecatonchires. But Uranus feared his children. He imprisoned them back in Gaia's womb, in her depths. Gaia groaned with pain and the call of life. Then she forged a sickle and gave it to the youngest of the Titans, Cronus. The night Uranus descended to earth, Cronus raised his hand and castrated him. From Uranus's blood were born the Erinyes, goddesses of vengeance, and the giants and Aphrodite, foaming from a drop of the sea. Thus Cronus became the ruler. He reigns not by thunder nor by lightning, but by time, his name, time that devours everything, and in him lived the same fear as in Uranus. It was foretold to him, one of his children would overthrow him. Then Cronus began to swallow his newborns, one after another, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon. Only Zeus escaped this fate. Rhea, their mother, hid the infant and gave Cronus a swaddled stone in his place. Zeus grew up, returned, conquered. With the help of Metis, he gave his father a potion, and he regurgitated those swallowed. Thus began the war between the Olympians and the Titans. It lasted 10 years, and only when Zeus freed the Hecatonchires did the battle end. Cronus and his brothers were cast down into Tartarus, chained and forgotten. But Cronus has not disappeared. His name resonates in every passing moment. He is not dead. He flows, drop by drop, hour by hour, engulfing both gods and mortals. His hand, a shadow on the sundial, his breath, a wrinkle on the face, his voice, a reminder that nothing is eternal. And Nyx still hides in the depths. She demands no altars. She is not invoked, but all pass through her, in dreams, in dying, in peace. Her veil soft as velvet, but within it stars and fear, birth and end. And if at night you feel time as if suspended, and an ancient stillness hangs in the air, it is Cronus breathing. It is Nyx watching. It is Tartarus whispering, where forces that existed before the gods sleep. Sometimes the gods descended to earth, not for war or for anger, but for love. From these unions heroes were born, neither entirely mortal nor entirely divine. They were called demigods, but most often they were just men, doomed to live a fate beyond their strength. Among them, Heracles, the strongest of all, son of Zeus and a mortal woman, Alcmene. From his earliest age, he knew the enmity of Hera, who persecuted him because he was the fruit of infidelity. She sent snakes to his cradle, but the infant Heracles strangled them with his bare hands. In his life he performed 12 labors. He strangled the Nemean lion, killed the Lernaean hydra, cleaned the Augean stables, overcame the Erymanthian boar, captured the Cyrenian hind, and freed Prometheus. Each exploit was not just a test of strength, but a purification. He fought not against monsters, but against himself, against his fury, against pain, against the madness Hera had inflicted upon him. After his death, Heracles was raised to Olympus. He is the only mortal who became an immortal god. And as a sign of reconciliation, Hera even accepted him, giving him her daughter, Hebe, in marriage. And then Perseus, another. His life began in the shadow of a prophecy. His mother, Danae, was locked in a bronze tower, but Zeus penetrated it in the form of a golden shower. Thus Perseus was born. The king demanded that the youth bring him the head of Medusa, the Gorgon whose gaze turned to stone. With the help of the gods, Hermes' winged sandals, Athena's shield, the sword, and the cap of invisibility, Perseus managed to approach, without looking at her, and cut off her head. From Medusa's blood was born Pegasus, the winged horse. He saved Andromeda from the sea monster, vanquished the treacherous king, and became the symbol of courage allied with reason. His deeds are a path from darkness to light. Achilles, child of Thetis, sea goddess, and King Peleus. His mother immersed the infant in the waters of the Styx to make him invulnerable, but she held him by the heel, and that heel remained vulnerable. Achilles was swift as the wind and terrible in his wrath. He fought under Troy, was invulnerable, but mortal. His fury ignited when his friend Patroclus perished. He returned Hector's body to the enemy's father, Priam, showing great compassion. But he was soon struck by an arrow from Paris, guided by Apollo's hand. The arrow struck the heel. Thus Achilles' name became a symbol of great strength and of a single weakness, a reminder that everyone has a vulnerability. And there was also Orpheus, the singer, in whose soul resonated the voice of Apollo himself. His lyre was not just an instrument, it opened hearts. When his beloved Eurydice died, he descended into the underworld, and there, in the realm of the dead, by his playing and singing, he made Persephone herself weep. He was allowed to bring Eurydice back, but on one condition, not to look back. But at the threshold of light, he could not resist. He turned around and lost her forever. Orpheus retreated into solitude, carrying within him the eternal song of love and loss. His stars still shine, his lyre still resonates. Heroes are not an ideal. They are those who feel pain but move forward, who make mistakes but do not give up, who are linked to the gods but pay the price with a human heart. And if you are struggling, and you go through life not knowing what awaits you, no, you are not alone. Heroes walked the same path. And in everyone who lives with meaning, with faith, with struggle, there is an echo of their breath, like a faint light in the darkness. In the world of the gods, where will, strength, and passion reign, over everyone, even over Zeus, one thing bows: fate. It cannot be seen, cannot be heard, cannot be touched by hands. But it exists. Invisible, unchangeable, like the breath of time. And in its heart, 3 figures, 3 sisters, 3 eternal forces. Clotho, the one who spins. She takes the yarn and draws the first thread. From her hand begins life, for a child, for a star, for an idea. Her fingers are soft but sure. Each turn is a breath, a step, a word. Lachesis, the one who measures. In her hands a measuring rod. She determines the length of the thread, its curves, its turns, its tangles. Fate is not always straight. Sometimes it meanders, returns, makes knots, but all according to her design. And finally, Atropos, the one who cuts. She holds the golden scissors. Her gesture is silent but final. Not cruel, not sudden. Just the moment when the thread comes to an end, and all again in silence. No one knows where they came from. Some said they were the daughters of Nyx, the night. Others, that they were older than all the gods, even chaos. The Moirai are neither good nor evil. They do not judge. They do what must be done. Even Zeus, the great lord of thunder, only consults them. He has no power over the thread. He can influence the path, but not the end. The Moirai appear at every birth. They lean over the cradle, not with a smile, but with a secret. They whisper fate, not with words, but with threads. And no one knows what they said until they have lived their life. Sometimes it seems they made a mistake, that death came too soon, or that happiness was averted. But the Moirai see what is hidden. Their work is not human. Their design is beyond time. And yet, in this inevitability, there is solace. You are not alone. Your thread is in ancient hands. Your breath is in their loom. And you are part of a huge pattern, invisible but magnificent, like the starry sky, where every life is a shimmering dot in the eternal fabric. And when you look at the flame of a candle and think about meaning, when you feel life flowing through you, when you accept not only joy but also departure, perhaps you hear them, the three sisters. They are not frightening, they are simply eternal, they are simply there, always. Love in the world of the gods was neither sweet nor tender. It blazed like lightning, rose like a storm, was relentless and often dangerous. For the love of immortals is not a feeling, it is a force that strives for embodiment, recognizing no limits. It transformed the world and destroyed destinies. Metis was the goddess of reason, wise and gentle. Zeus loved her, not with fury, but with impetuosity, as he knew how. But it was foretold to him, a child of Metis would surpass its father. Then, fearing to lose power, he did what is more terrible than any battle. He swallowed Metis, even before she gave birth. But from within, Metis did not disappear. She lived in him, whispered, advised, sharpened his mind. And one day, when Zeus's head began to throb with unbearable pain, Hephaestus struck it with his axe, and from Zeus's forehead emerged Athena, in shining armor, wise and adult. Thus love and fear gave birth to the goddess who became the symbol of intellect and justice. Leda, queen of Sparta, was famous for her beauty. Zeus saw her and could not forget. He took the form of a swan and descended to her from the sky. The same night, Leda was with her husband and gave birth to two pairs, Castor and Pollux, Helen and Clytemnestra. Some mortals, others divine. Since then, Leda's fate is a thin thread between passion and consequences. Her daughter, Helen, would be the cause of the great Trojan War. Io, priestess of Hera! Zeus fell in love with her, but to hide his passion from his wife, he transformed Io into a white cow. But Hera found out everything and demanded the animal for herself, placing a 100-eyed guardian, Argus, over her. To save Io, Zeus sent Hermes, who lulled Argus to sleep with sweet words and the sound of his flute. Since then, Hermes is called Arge Fontes, the slayer of Argus, and Io, continuing to wander in the body of a cow, reached Egypt, where she regained her human form. Her descendants became kings, including Heracles himself. And Europa, daughter of the Phoenician king, one day went out to the sea and saw a white bull, gentle, with eyes deep as night. It was Zeus. He carried her on his back across the sea to the island of Crete. There she became the mother of kings, and her name, Europa, would remain on the lips of eternity, would become the name of an entire continent. The love of the gods is incomprehensible. It transforms into miracle, metamorphosis, pain, immortality. It interferes with destinies, transforms women into cows, swans, symbols of passion, bulls into a bridge between worlds. It is neither good nor evil. It is the breath of myth, where feelings take shape and change the world. And when you think of love, sudden, inexplicable, irreversible, perhaps it is the echo of that ancient force. The one that once transformed the sky into a gaze and the wind into a kiss. The one that made mortals a part of immortal history. There is a particular line in myths, thin and dangerous. It is the line of pride, audacity, the desire to rise above what is permitted. Those who crossed it were destined to fall. But in their stories, there is not only punishment, there is fire, freedom, and the tragic beauty of the human spirit. Prometheus was a titan. But he loved humans, fragile, imperfect, seekers, and he wanted to help them. He taught them to count, to write, to build, but most importantly, he gave them fire. Fire that was the property of the gods. He stole it from Hephaestus and gave it to humans as light, as knowledge, as strength. Zeus was angered. For his audacity, he ordered Prometheus to be chained to a rock, and every day an eagle came and devoured his liver again and again, for it regrew during the night, eternal torment for his love of humanity. But Prometheus did not repent. He remained silent, but his silence was louder than any words. Later, Heracles would break his chains, but the image of the chained Titan would remain as a symbol that freedom demands sacrifice, and the fire of knowledge not a gift, but a choice. Sisyphus, king, the most intelligent of mortals, cunning and mocking. He cheated death twice, outwitted the gods, and for this he was punished. He must eternally roll a heavy stone uphill. But as soon as he reaches the top, the stone rolls back down. It seems absurd, but precisely therein lies the paradox. In every movement of Sisyphus there is a struggle. In every effort, the choice to live, even if the path is eternal. He did not give up. He did not lie down. He pushes the stone, and in that he finds meaning. Icarus, son of the master Daedalus, they fled from Crete, and the father created wings of feathers and wax. Daedalus warned, "Do not fly too high, do not fly too low." But Icarus was young, full of enthusiasm. He flew higher and higher towards the sun, and the wax melted. He fell into the sea, which since then is called the Icarian Sea. But in his flight, there was not recklessness, but thirst. Thirst for the sky, for freedom, for dreams. He fell, but did not crawl. Niobe, a queen who had many children, she mocked Leto, mother of Apollo and Artemis, saying, "Why worship her? She has only two, and I a multitude." Pride blinded her eyes, and the gods responded. Apollo killed her sons, Artemis her daughters. Only one remained out of pity. And Niobe, maddened with grief, turned into stone from which tears flow, an eternal stream. But is she evil? No, she is a mother. And her pain has become part of the world, the rock that weeps in the rain, a reminder that pride, without measure, is a fall, but within it, humanity. All of them, Prometheus, Sisyphus, Icarus, Niobe, were not evil. They were alive. They wanted to know, to be, to feel. They dared. And that is why they fell. But precisely in this lies their greatness. And when you make a mistake, when the path seems difficult, when you want to get up and you are afraid, remember them. They were not perfect, but they were true, and perhaps that is why they are remembered. Centuries have passed, temples have crumbled, statues have become covered with moss, altars have long been extinguished, and no one raises laurel smoke to the sky anymore. But gosh, have the gods disappeared? No, they remained, not on Olympus, but within us, in language, in memory, in history, in every gaze at the stars, in every dream where ancient forms come alive again. When you say panic, you speak the name of Pan, the wild god of the forests. When Eros resonates, you remember love that flies with wings. When you hear music, it is the gift of the Muses, daughters of Zeus and Mnemosyne, inspiring poets and singers. And even chaos is not just disorder, but the very beginning of everything. The words we utter every day without knowing that we remember are fragments of Olympus. They are the ashes of fires that once burned on altars. In the sky, too, are traces. Planets are named after the Roman reflections of Greek gods: Mars, Ares, Jupiter, Zeus, Venus, Aphrodite. Every time we look at them, we look into the eyes of the immortals. Constellations are myths fixed in the starry fabric. Orion, Pegasus, Andromeda, they shine even when everything else is forgotten. In art, in poetry, in theatre, they breathe. The tragedies of Aeschylus, the stanzas of Homer, the marble faces of Phidias, all this is not just history. It is a way to remember, a way to speak to what was and what still is. We have not only inherited names, we have inherited questions. What is justice? What is love? Where is the boundary between audacity and freedom? The gods did not give answers. They themselves were the embodiment of these questions. Athena, wisdom; Ares, fury; Dionysus, madness; Artemis, solitude; Hestia, home; Hermes, the path. We still seek them within ourselves, in those who stand at a crossroads, in those who dream, who suffer, who forgive. Every human being carries within them the shadow of myth, because myth is not a fairy tale. It is a mirror, too ancient to lie. And perhaps they truly did not leave. Perhaps Olympus is not a mountain, but a place in our imagination, in the depths of dreams, in books, in the eyes of those who look at the world with awe. Perhaps when the wind touches the face, it is the breath of Zephyrus. When the heart stops from beauty, it is Eros who has drawn his bow, and perhaps they are simply waiting quietly. Not for altars, not for temples, but to be heard again in the silence before sleep. So that you remember and see that the world is full of wonders, that you are not a coincidence, that those who created the universe still live within you. So close your eyes, allow yourself to hear the ancient footsteps. Imagine marble columns under a shining sky. Hear the lyre, the rustle of leaves, the crackle of a torch. This is not the past. It is eternity touching the present. The gods of Olympus have not died. They have simply become quieter,